There are a ton of recipes out there for Fujifilm cameras. I'm using them all the time on my X100V. They're a great way to bring new life to your images, try out and experiment with new looks, and just get you excited about photography. That being said, because there's so many, they can be hard to choose which recipes you want to use. After all, you can only put 7 on your camera at a time. So today, I'm going to show you 5 great recipes that I've personally used and tested and really enjoyed. I'm going to show you example photos and talk about how to use each recipe to the best of its ability. Now before we begin, I want to make sure you know that this isn't the first time I've done a video like this. Linked below in the description, I have a whole playlist of Fujifilm recipe videos where I show examples, talk about each recipe, and there's some great ones that you should definitely check out. So make sure you watch those videos as well. I also want to give credit to everyone who created a recipe that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to link them below. Check out their other recipes. They have some great work and some great recipes that you should definitely try. With that, let's get started with recipe number 1. Positive film. If you're looking for a moody recipe, this is the one for you. Closely mimicking the popular positive film simulation on the Rios cameras, this recipe is contrasty and packs a punch. It saturates the blues, giving them a really nice deep feel, and I really enjoyed using this recipe during rainy, moody days. If you like contrast and blue tones, you'll enjoy this recipe. Vision 3 250D. Based off the Cinema Film stock 250D, this recipe definitely achieves that classic cinema look. The Turna base flattens out the image, and the steep tone curve brings back the blacks for a perfect level of contrast. I don't love the skin tones this recipe produces. They feel just a little bit too red for me. I think this recipe is an ideal recipe for street photography, so if you like photographing on the streets, make sure to add this to your camera. Eddie's Everyday Mono. Like every video in this series, I have to include a black and white recipe. At first, I didn't love this recipe, but it quickly grew on me. It feels like a mix between the Tri-X400 recipe and the HP5 recipe that I've covered in other videos. It's got more contrast than HP5, but less than Tri-X400. This leaves it in a good middle ground for an everyday recipe. The use of clarity really helps give the recipe a nice micro contrast that makes everything pop just a bit more. Eddie's also got a YouTube channel where he makes some great content. You should definitely check it out. I'm going to link it below. If you like my content, you'll definitely like his. Nostalgic negative. Richie from Fuji X Weekly set out to recreate the nostalgic negative simulation that's only on the X-Trans 5 sensors for the X-Trans 4 sensors. While I don't know how close it gets to the simulation, it makes for a great recipe. It's got warmer red tones and a good level of saturation without overdoing it. This recipe does lean a bit red, so while it can be good in low light, it's not always reliable. It has a very similar look to Vision 3 250D that I mentioned earlier in this video, and Kodachrome 64, which I talked about in another episode in this series. That being said, it does have its own uniqueness. It's definitely worth trying if you want that new American color feel. Pale Platinum. Pale Platinum is a recipe that does great for overcast days. Despite the recipe using a base of a Turna, it still manages to give off that chrome look. The combo of the Turna simulation and a more contrasty curve helps give the photo a nice cinematic feel. The recipe also does a good job in sunnier conditions. When you have a bit of warm light in your photo, it provides a nice contrast between the warm and cool tones that looks really great. If you want a more grisly feeling recipe, this is the one. And that's 5. I hope you guys enjoyed these recipes. I'd love if you tag me in the photos you take with them so I can check them out and see all your great work. As I said earlier, I do have a bunch of other videos in this series with tons of more recipes that I think you'll love, so make sure to check them out. For now, go out and shoot some photos. Thanks for watching.